we're gonna be talking about Marvel's Loki, which just finished wrapping up its 6-episode season 1. So when Marvel actually announced that they were starting to do TV shows, and one of them was gonna be Loki, I was probably the most excited for that show just because of how interesting the character is, kind of how little we know about him, and how he was finally gonna get his time to shine in his own kind of standalone-ish series, if that makes sense. But having said that, let's actually talk a little bit about the show and what kind of worked and what didn't. But I have to preface this by saying a lot of things actually do work in Loki. It's just a home run in terms of what Marvel was trying to accomplish, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who after Endgame were wondering where do they go from here and how are they gonna top the monumental success that was Infinity War and Endgame. But I really think they've got something in the bag, not just with how Loki's gone on and the success that it's earned, but how it's gonna progress the entire MCU in the coming months and years. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing. Starting with the opening credits. I'm a big believer in intros really setting the tone for shows. I know some of you guys like to skip it. I believe that a good intro is able to take, a decent show with good storytelling, but it's able to take it to that next level. I know there are some gripes about Loki being a bit too expositional, it's a lot of talking, but that's actually the kind of things I enjoyed. Don't get me wrong, exposition when overused is often a cop-out in order to get one point across in a story. But what makes it work in Loki is that the exposition is actually interesting. If it's just exposition about a character I don't care about, or about a very mundane activity, then that's when it falls flat. But in this case, you have to build up an entire world pretty much in the first, not even the first episode, the first 20 minutes of an episode, the first third, if you will. And if they did a shoddy job doing that, you've lost your target audience. The theme surrounding Loki is loneliness and pain. Like, that's all he's ever gonna get in his life. And it's kind of hammered home throughout the series, so we know what Loki's kind of internal goals are, which, is probably just to feel accepted. But of course, in this universe, that's wiped out because the Loki we're dealing with is the Loki at the end of Avengers 1. This is a guy who was literally murdering people before this series starts, so a lot of character work needed to be done on him, and despite it only being 6 episodes, I thought they did a good job, a good enough job. Much like how Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool and vice versa, Loki and Tom Hiddleston are one now. He just embodies everything you think about Loki. I thought the characters introduced in Loki were interesting for the most part. I thought Mobius was a great addition. Owen Wilson knocks it out of the park. I know there were a lot of memes when he was first put forth as a casting choice, but I thought he did an excellent job. Mobius is a character that, looks like he's gonna be returning in not only future Loki seasons, but in future MCU properties. He's a character I'm interested in to find out, what's gonna happen to him. Is he gonna get his jet ski? Another character that I thought was an interesting and very likable addition was Sylvie. Sylvie's, of course, the female variant of Loki, another interesting concept that was brought into the MCU, now with the whole multiverse thing. She kind of starts out as a foil to Loki. You don't really know what's gonna happen between them because Loki's notorious for being cunning, cutthroat, untrustworthy, which is a theme that ultimately comes back in force in the season finale. But I thought Sylvie kind of grew into her own as the episodes progressed. I like how they capped it off in the season finale. And as we know, like with good TV, with good movies, with good writing, you're always looking for conflict. As much of the conflict that Loki is facing in the external is, impending war, impending doom, all very real and dangerous situations. But his internal conflict has always been about trust and loneliness and just self-loathing. So when Sylvie rejects him to pursue her own internal motivations, that action of her pushing him away, the literal push away, like if you can't get the metaphor, sets Loki up for so many things, because now he has an impending war to kind of warn people about, and he's gonna be the crazy manic guy he's almost gonna be like the boy who cried wolf. No one's gonna believe him, also because he's a Loki, which is so ironic and funny to me. But now he also has to deal with this heartbreak. The thing is, we understand both their motivations. Loki finally falls in love, is trying to shed that skin which he's kind of had on him his whole life. Sylvie's kind of motivations and upbringing are vastly different from Loki's because she was ripped away from her family when she was like a kid, and she's been on the run ever since. That's all she knows. All she knows is running, hiding, isolation. So it's completely understandable and natural that she'd push Loki away. So out of the 3 Marvel TV shows that have come out this year, WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, and Loki, this isn't a knock on the other 2, but I just feel that Loki is in a league of its own. The payoff at the end is just so monumental that if you are invested in the MCU, you definitely would have to watch Loki. It's not just like a filler TV show. It's gonna be interesting to see how the MCU builds on this, because Loki has really laid the foundations for something truly spectacular to come out of this new kind of phase of the MCU. I imagine that Shang-Chi and Eternals are going to continue building on this multiverse thread. So anyway guys, that was my review of Loki Season 1. I cannot wait for Season 2 to come out. Unfortunately, it's going to be quite a wait for that, I can imagine. Hopefully we see Loki in other Marvel properties. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. I've always wanted to do that. And subscribe to the channel for more things film, TV, video game related. We're looking forward to doing more reviews, and I'll see you soon.